What you are about to hear did not just happen on a football pitch. It happened in front of the entire world, in broad daylight, under the brightest spotlight the sport can offer. And somehow, millions of people are still trying to convince themselves that what they saw was normal. It wasn't. It was never normal. And the longer you sit with what unfolded during France versus Paraguay, the more you begin to realize that the scoreline, the goals, the celebrations, the highlights, all of it was a distraction. Because the real story, the story nobody in the broadcast booth wanted to say out loud, was standing in the middle of the pitch wearing a whistle. France won the match. That part is true. That part is boring. That part is the surface. But if you think this video is about a French victory, you are already missing the point. Because by the end of the next few minutes, you are going to understand exactly why players walked off that pitch stunned, why pundits across 3 continents lost their composure on live television, why Paraguay's bench looked like they had just been robbed in front of a global audience, and why one man, one single official, may have delivered the most catastrophic refereeing performance of the entire tournament. Stay with us, subscribe now and turn on notifications, because what's coming next is the part they don't replay on the highlight reels. Here is the contradiction at the heart of everything. France were supposed to win this match. Paraguay were supposed to defend, frustrate, sit deep, and hope for a miracle. That was the script. That was the expectation. But nobody expected the game itself to be decided not by talent, not by tactics, not by Mbappe or Griezmann or a moment of magic, but by the man in the middle. And that is where the story turns dark. Think about this for a moment. 34 fouls. 34 in a single 90-minute match. And of those 34, a staggering imbalance fell against one side, while the other side received what can only be described as a free pass. Tackles from behind, ignored. Shirt pulls in the box, waved away. Late challenges on the flanks, unpunished. And every single time Paraguay tried to compete, tried to press, tried to exist in the game, the whistle came. Every single time France committed the exact same infraction, the whistle stayed silent. Sit with that. Pundits watching from studios in London, Buenos Aires, Madrid, and Sao Paulo said it plainly. One called it the worst officiating display I have witnessed in a knockout stage in 20 years. Another said the referee had lost the dressing room, the players, and the plot within 30 minutes. A former World Cup official, a man who has worn the badge himself, went on air and said, and I quote, "This is not a matter of missed calls. This is a matter of a game slipping completely out of control. That is not fan bias. That is not conspiracy. That is the profession itself, sounding the alarm." And yet, we have to be fair. We have to acknowledge the other side. Paraguay were physical. Paraguay were aggressive. Paraguay came into the match with a clear plan to disrupt, to intimidate, to slow France's rhythm through hard, uncompromising defending. Some will argue the referee was simply responding to the chaos Paraguay created. Some will say the yellow cards were earned, the free kicks were fair, the pattern of decisions reflected the pattern of play. And on the surface, that argument holds a certain weight. But pull back further and the picture grows darker, because no defensive strategy, no matter how aggressive, justifies a referee losing control of the biggest match of his career. No tactical plan explains away identical fouls being punished on one end and ignored on the other. No amount of Paraguayan physicality accounts for the moments, and there were many, where French players committed clear, cynical, tactical fouls that went completely unaddressed. The counter-argument collapses the moment you examine the tape frame by frame, because officiating is not supposed to reward one team's discipline while excusing another's identical behavior. It is supposed to be a mirror, and that night, the mirror was cracked. Then came VAR. Oh, VAR. The technology that was supposed to save football from exactly this kind of nightmare. And what did VAR do? Nothing. Or worse than nothing. A handball in the box, reviewed and dismissed in under 40 seconds. A studs-up challenge that could have ended a career, reviewed and downgraded. A shove in the back on a Paraguayan attacker inside the 18-yard line, not even looked at. The very system designed to catch human error became, on this night, an accomplice to it. And that is when the mood inside the stadium began to shift from frustration to something closer to disbelief. Before we go any deeper, if this is the kind of breakdown you have been searching for, the kind of analysis the mainstream broadcasts refuse to give you, subscribe now and turn on notifications. Because what happened in the 72nd minute, the moment that broke this match wide open, is something you need to see with the full context in place. The 72nd minute, a France attacker drives into the box. Contact is made, minimal, glancing, ambiguous contact. The kind of contact that in 99 matches out of 100 results in a wave on and a goal kick. But not this night. The whistle blew. The finger pointed to the spot. Paraguay's captain dropped to his knees. The stadium erupted, half in celebration, half in outrage. And the penalty was converted. Just like that, a match that had been hanging by a thread was decided. Not by football, by a decision. And Mbappe of all people, was seen on the sideline shaking his head. Not celebrating, shaking his head. Cameras caught him mouthing something to a teammate that lip readers later translated as, "That wasn't a penalty." Think about that. The star of the winning team, the man whose career has been built on moments exactly like this one, could not bring himself to celebrate. That tells you everything. And it wasn't only the officiating. The conditions were brutal. Temperatures on the pitch surface reportedly climbed past 40 degrees Celsius. Players were cramping by the 60th minute. Water breaks were shortened. Substitutions were forced, not by tactics, but by exhaustion. And through all of it, the referee kept the clock running, kept the pressure on, kept the chaos boiling. FIFA, according to multiple reports circulating in the hours after the final whistle, has quietly opened an internal review into the officiating performance. Not a public statement, not an apology, a review, behind closed doors, away from the cameras. Because the truth is, this was never a story about France beating Paraguay. France would have likely won regardless. France had the better squad, the deeper bench, the sharper attack. But that is not the point. The point is that the world was denied a fair contest. Paraguay was denied a fair chance. And football itself, the sport that markets itself as the beautiful game, was denied a clean, honest, competitive 90 minutes on one of its biggest stages. Contrast what we were promised with what we received. We were promised a knockout classic. We received a refereeing disaster. We were promised drama built on skill. We received drama built on controversy. We were promised football. We received something else entirely. So what do you think? Was this simply a bad night for one official, the kind of human error that has always been part of the sport? Or was this something more, a symptom of a deeper rot inside the way these matches are governed, reviewed, and protected? Drop your honest take in the comments below. Tell us the moment that made you lose faith in the officiating. Tell us whether you believe Paraguay were robbed, or whether France earned every inch of that result. And if this breakdown gave you a version of the story the mainstream coverage refused to tell, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications, because the next investigation is already coming, and it is bigger than this one. Because in the end, the scoreline will fade, the highlights will be edited, the headlines will move on. But the players who walked off that pitch, the fans who watched from the stands, the millions who watched from home, they will remember. They will remember not the goals, not the celebrations, not the final whistle. They will remember the man in the middle. They will remember the decisions that were made and the ones that weren't. They will remember that on this night, football didn't lose to France. Football lost to a whistle.